All right, everyone. So welcome to our very last official session of our International Future MDs in STEM summer program. We are super excited to have you all here and to get started today. As you know, our research symposium project deadline has been extended to Thursday, and you all have office hours on Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. So same time as these sessions. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop by and let us know what's going on, and if you have any problems you need to run by us or anything you need to troubleshoot. But that project deadline has been extended, so we are super excited for that. Before we get into our guest speaker segment today, I see that Austin's here, and just a reminder, we'll be linking our thank you form for Austin at the conclusion of his session, as well as linking his social media and YouTube channel. But if everyone would be able to turn their cameras on if they're comfortable so we can take a group picture, that would be wonderful. Just want to get it out of the way so we can do it and then focus on our session for the rest of the day. Awesome. I see people turning their cameras on. Love it. I'll give everyone a minute to get comfortable because I know it's the first thing in the morning or in the evening or afternoon for some of you. Perfect. And for those of you that are just joining, what I just mentioned is that right now we're going to be taking our group picture. So if you would all be able to turn your cameras on, if you're comfortable, we'll be taking it in about like 30 seconds. Just going to give everyone enough time to like get out of bed and turn the camera on. Awesome. Love it. Love seeing all of your faces. Oh my goodness. Yep, that too. Okay, so you might hear my laptop just click. That's just because we're taking a picture. So I will go ahead and give you guys like a 3-second countdown, and then we'll go ahead and snap this lovely picture of everyone. Okay, I'm just making my computer full screen. Perfect. All right, so I see some people still turning their cameras on, so I'll give you guys like maybe 10-ish seconds. Ooh, some of you are outside. That's fun. Love the nature. Okay. I think everyone is all set now. And if you're not, just turn on your camera quickly. All right. So I'm going to give you guys a 3-second countdown and then we'll do this. All right, everyone. 3, 2, 1. All right, perfect. Thank you. So if you are more comfortable to keep your camera off for the rest of the session now, you totally can. I just wanted everyone to see everybody and, take that one picture, which we will, of course, be sending out to you all so you can keep it. But for right now, we will hand it over to Austin, and he'll be speaking today for about a half hour on his journey into medicine and, tell you a bit about what makes him him. So Austin, feel free to go ahead. And if you do need to share your screen, I'll make you a co-host now so you can do that.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll share my screen and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. And for those of you that don't know, Austin was our first guest speaker last year for our summer program.
Yeah, I was, and it was great to be back. So thank you for reaching out, and I look forward to hanging out with all of y'all for the next, 25, 30 minutes, and be happy to take a lot of questions at the end too. So looking forward to it, and feel free to chime in whenever if you have questions, or just feel free to use the chat feature too. Alrighty, so today we'll be talking about, of course, the field of medicine. I'm excited to be sharing with all of you, especially many of you are interested in the future being an MD, and this is a great STEM program. So thank you all for coming in. And like Divya mentioned, this could be morning for some of you, maybe probably many of you early morning. So I appreciate it for everyone coming out. So a little bit about me. So my name is Austin Wynn. I currently live in Chicago, Illinois. I attended the University of Illinois, Chicago in 2019. That's when I graduated, and now I matriculated into the Chicago campus of the University of Illinois College of Medicine. It's an allopathic program located in Chicago. So, I had a good and strong support system around the city, and my parents and family are in the suburbs just about 45 minutes away. So it was sort of a nice place for me to stay, especially during, medical school, which can be quite challenging. So I have about less than 2 years left and then I'll finish. I'm currently a third year medical student in my clinical rotations. And just a couple fun facts about me. I grew up playing sports my whole life. So, I really love to play basketball, golf, and tennis. So, those are things that I've done since I was really young. And so that kind of goes into, what I'm interested in. So I'm thinking I'm going to be doing a residency in orthopedic surgery, and I'm hoping to be working in sports medicine. So just kind of help athletes, get back out on the field or the court, or even just anyone just with their mobility. They don't have to be an athlete. I think that the, ability to move and to do things is, very important into your daily activities of living. So it's just really incredible to see someone come in with a hip injury or an ankle injury, and many are walking out the same day they come in for surgery. So that's a little bit about my interests. In addition to that, I also really love to travel. So I've been to almost 25 different countries already, and I'm hoping to get over 30. Got a little slowed down during COVID for obvious reasons, but hoping to get some more time to do that as well. So we're going to begin today's talk just talking a little bit about why medicine. Of course, many of you are here because you are already interested in medicine, and congratulations for just being proactive and taking those early steps to be at a seminar like this, and to just try to get involved as soon as possible. I think early involvement is just so important. When you're going into a field like medicine, there's just so many steps involved, and that's why mentorship is so important, and having people you can talk to, reach out to, and just have someone that's sort of been through these steps so that you can sort of follow through. Medicine, I'm not going to say it's easy. Of course, it comes with a lot of its challenges and its difficulties, but something I think that makes medicine a little bit better than certain fields is that it's a very well beaten down path. And something I like to think about is that, if somebody before me was able to get through it and be where they are, then, I could get through it, and so can, all of you. So even though right now it might seem like there's a long ways to go, you can always, get through it. And there's a lot of resources and material out there, to get through that path. On another hand, it's like, becoming a CEO or like starting your own company, those are like sort of not as well beaten down paths. And there's a lot more hurdles, I think, in my opinion, because if there's a lot of unknown variables, but there's a lot of, certainty in medicine that, there are certain steps laid out. And if you kind of just keep working hard and follow through, you will get through it. So it's a long journey. Just enjoy the process and, find your reason for why you want to do it, because, there's really, so many different answers and they'll differ from, person to person, but definitely not things like, money, right? Because I'll tell you now, medicine is a lot more expensive than it is lucrative. So that's really not a great reason to do it, but find your reasoning and, make sure it's true to you. And I promise you that you'll have a lot of joy along the way as well. So applying to medical school, so these statistics were the most complete statistics that I saw, even though there are more statistics available for the most recent cycle. Since that cycle was a COVID cycle, I thought that it would be better just to look at, things post-COVID, given that's kind of where admissions is kind of moving towards, hoping to get more in-person interviews and more of the in-person component back as opposed to last year. In addition, last year's cycle kind of had an increase in applications, so it kind of skewed the data a little bit just because there's a lot of cost that was being saved due to the fact that, things were being done online. There's less interview fees for travel, etc. So a lot of people were applying, and it was similar to the MD match process as well. So the data was a little bit skewed. So I figured I'd stick with 2019 and 2020. So having said that, you can see some of the statistics on the screen there: average MCAT, GPA, and then of course the science and non-science GPA. I'm sure many of you are aware, but medical schools will kind of evaluate your science courses on a different metric than your non-science courses. And as you can imagine, given science classes tend to be a little bit more difficult, the GPA on average was a little bit lower compared to the non-science GPA. So it kind of helps with, some students who just try to stat pad and take a lot of, culinary arts classes, and, nothing wrong with that, but those do tend to be slightly easier courses to earn a good grade compared to your traditional physics, chemistry, biochem, biology, etc. So these are just a couple of the average statistics. And remember that I like to think about medical school admissions sort of as in, three different totems, right? So there's your statistics, which is your MCAT GPA, science GPA, and then that's kind of all in one totem, but it's only one part of the whole puzzle. The second part is your application, right? Your experiences, things that make you unique, your personal statement, that has just as much weight as the numbers, the MCAT and GPA. And then the third component is really just your interview and the way you present yourself and how that part of the process goes. So, overall, I want you to remember that the number is only one part of it. So I think a lot of students tend to get really stressed out about the numbers because it's something that's very tangible. So that's just something to keep in mind. And a little bit of a fun fact that in 2018 and 2019, there was 21,622 applicants accepted to allopathic MD medical schools out of 52,777 applied. So that gives you an overall acceptance rate of 41%. So the process is very competitive, but there's a lot of different, like I said, resources and steps to take to kind of help improve those chances the best. So kind of going a little bit more into detail on what I was talking about with science versus non-science GPA. When you're applying, there's obviously prerequisites that you need to have in terms of like certain courses. And again, this would generally vary from medical school to medical school, but you do want to keep in mind that you have to take, your basic biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, physics. So regardless of what your major is going to be, those are courses that you have to take. And this is something I included because I think a lot of students come into medical school thinking that they have to be a, science major or something that's difficult or something they might not like. And I think that that's just not true. You should, obviously major in something that you like and something that you enjoy, because that's what's going to make you the most unique applicant. And in addition to that, you're still going to take the same prerequisites anyways. So there's really no reason to major in something that you don't like. And you can see on this chart here, the third column to the right, that's the acceptance rate by different majors. And you can see that biological sciences, I was a biological science major, but the acceptance rate was 41% compared to actually the humanities and physical sciences had a higher acceptance rate at 46 and 48% respectively. And even people that were majoring in math and statistics had a 47% acceptance rate. So this just goes to show that, you should do, what you like. And I think the trend these days, especially in the United States, allopathic medical schools, that they're trying to accept more well-rounded students and students that have a little bit more experience in different disciplines, just because they know that you're going to be taking the required courses anyways. So they want to challenge you to venture off. And so, if you are a biological sciences major like I was, you don't have to get a minor or another double major in something else, but you can diversify your application or diversify your schedule and just take additional courses. So in college, I took public health classes, I took psych courses, ethics courses, and just different, humanities and social science courses, because even though I wasn't like earning a major or something, I was like interested in it. And I figured, it's something you can talk about in your interviews. And it's something that came up for me because a lot of times they see a lot of cookie cutter biology or chemistry applicants, and they only have like the bare bones, required courses. And so there gives you less things to talk about. And when you apply, you're submitting your whole application with your entire, timeline of courses and what you took in college as well. So they'll see anything that you took. So it's kind of good to keep it diversified and just do things that you enjoy. That's kind of the best way, I think, to stand out. So where to start? So, I mean, some of you might be just getting into college now, or you're early on in your college years, and maybe you are later in your college years, but you just decided like, hey, I want to do medicine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no correct or incorrect answer to medicine. Like I said, it's a very long journey. I have classmates that have worked a different career before this, some with families and children, and others who came from college. So there's a lot of diversity in the class, and I think that's important. So just to touch upon some things that I think are important to start is looking at clinical opportunities. At the end of the day, you're going to be working in a clinical setting as a physician or something in the healthcare field. So it's really important to immerse yourself into the clinic environment and sort of have an understanding and expand your knowledge on what that's like. So there's two types of clinical opportunities, and I think this can be can bring about a lot of confusion for students, because sometimes they're not sure which is which and what to put down their application, et cetera. So I sort of like to break it down in two ways. There's a passive type of clinical opportunity, which is shadowing. Essentially, you're a shadow on the wall. You're not really doing anything when you're shadowing. You're simply watching a physician or PA or whoever you're working with, and just seeing how they go about their day and kind of getting a better understanding of the medical field. So shadowing is really for you. Shadowing is for you to understand what the clinical setting is like, for you to be like, oh, I spent X number of hours shadowing, so I kind of know what it's like to be in the hospital. That goes into the camp of demonstrated interest. So are you interested in the field of medicine? If so, show me how you are invested and involved in the field of medicine. And that's when you say, well, I shadowed with this doctor and this doctor for X number of hours, and I learned this and this by watching the way they communicate with patients, by watching how they interact with staff and how they treat their patients, and just seeing that patient-provider connection. That's just a short example of like how shadowing works, and you can see that it's very beneficial for you because you learn a lot from what you see. Now, volunteering is an active type of clinical opportunity. You're still in the hospital, but now instead of the attention being on you getting something from watching a physician or a provider, you are the one helping and providing aid to other people. So you can see how that's different, but it still gives you that, feel of working in the hospital environment and serving the patient population that you ultimately yearn to serve in the future if you want to be a physician. So this includes things like volunteering in the hospital by, filing papers, helping changing bedding, walking patients to their rooms, and just helping with the clinical setting in any way that you can. It'll differ from hospital to hospital, but you can see that you have an active role as a volunteer as opposed to someone that shadows. Now, to move away from clinical opportunities, while I do think that they're very important, and wherever situation you're in, you should definitely look into getting involved in the clinic in some possible way, because that'll certainly be a red flag if you have zero clinical experiences and you apply to medical school, because then people will think, well, do you actually want to be a doctor? Do you know what it's like? Because you never really spent time in a hospital. So definitely look into clinical opportunities, but also explore different experiences and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. I think the most unique applicants, the ones that have the most success in applying, it's not the ones that have, the 520 plus MCATs and the great GPA, but it's the ones that have very unique experiences that they can truly talk about. That really shows in the way you write and the way you present yourself in your interviews. So don't just be something that I've heard a lot growing up as a CRK, a college resume kid. A lot of students would just sign up for every single club that just sounds good and then put in, very minimal effort into the club, just enough to kind of stick it on their resume and to say, oh, I was a part of this, this, and this, to kind of show that they were heavily involved, but there's really no depth or substance in anything that they're involved in. I think medical school is certainly like someone that is in a few clubs that they've very dedicated a lot of time to. They've built relationships. You can get a letter of recommendation from someone you've worked with, but just having that longitudinal connection with the club, like, you started freshman year as a general member, you became an executive board member, you worked your way up, and then you started, investing in the project and improving it, etc. I think that really makes you stand out. So a couple of things I did I thought was pretty interesting and something I liked was something called Peer Health Exchange. In Chicago, they have an organization that lets you teach health education to students in Chicago public schools, which don't have the means and the access to healthcare education. So, as college students that were interested in pre-health, we taught one period a week at the high school. And, it was a really great experience. I kind of worked my way up into leadership, and, it was really cool to just be in the classroom, connect with students, and you sort of get to see what they're going through, but also help them in a very tangible way, because you'd be surprised at how much you would think that would be maybe common sense to some of us who grew up in different environments that they just didn't know because they never got educated in the same ways in terms of health education. So it was really cool to see that, and also to kind of connect with them, because we were only a few years older than them as college students, and I think that they were able to connect with us more as peers compared to the didactic approach that was present in their teaching environment, because their teachers were much older and it kind of seemed like the teachers didn't understand what they were going through. So just continue to explore different experiences and do the things you truly enjoy, and that will really stand out. And then finally, this kind of goes hand in hand with clinical experiences, but I think that it's very important to have research. So, sorry, apologize for that. So research is, what is it? So basically it's, applying the scientific method to a certain topic and, working towards finding a solution to it. When I first started college, I remember hearing all of this talk about, medical pre-med students really have to be involved in research. And I was sort of, questioning like, what exactly was it? How do you get involved? And, basically, yeah, like I said, it's just any topic, applying the scientific method to it, which just means that you identify a question, you have a hypothesis, and then you look into what the solution might be. And, it's something that you might not see tangible results right away, whether you're in a lab pipetting for hours or you're collecting data on a project. It might take months before you see something come out of it. But I just want to encourage you all to be diligent and to keep working at it, because research is a very important part of medicine, and it's constantly something that goes on in tandem with medicine. A lot of times people say, from bench side to bedside, meaning there's so many research labs dedicated to diseases like Alzheimer's, ALS, and things that don't have good prognoses, and finding new ways and new methods to treat these things. So it's so important, and it's important for you as clinicians to be up to date on your research, to know what's the new clinical trials are, what's going on, so you can apply them to your patients, and also for you to be involved in research in some capacity, because it really gives you experience into that field. And whether you want to do research as a clinician in the future or not, it's good to have some type of foundation and understanding of how the process works. So that's why they really encourage you to get involved in it as a pre-med, and you'll probably do some research in medical school as well. So it's unfortunately not something that goes away if that's something that you don't enjoy, but it's just kind of a means to an end. But it's also something that's, I think, very important. So it's not the worst thing that I have to be involved with. So this slide is just really brief, but I just want to touch upon a couple study strategies. So in college, compared to high school, it's going to be a lot more independent. It's more exam and quiz heavy. And for all of you college students here, you clearly know that. When it gets to medical school, though, this is where it sort of becomes completely independent. And the big thing is what happens is that in medical school, there's really no one that tells you what to do and what to study, right? In medical school, you kind of just have an exam on an organ system or a topic that you're covering, and there'll be a ton of lectures that you can go to, but there's really no benchmarks, to kind of see how you're doing. It's sort of like you have this exam, and then in 2 years, you'll have your medical board exams, the United States medical licensing exam to get your medical degree. And it's kind of up to you to stay on top of everything and study for that. Everyone studies differently in medical school. It's kind of its own beast because when you get there, no one really tells you like how to study. There's not really like a study guide or anything out there. There's a lot of really helpful Reddit threads and YouTube videos though, so that's really helpful. But everyone studies differently, and your normal traditional ways of studying will really be tested. So I think there's very few people in medical school that take notes and highlight, and that's something I feel like many college students do. Get those colorful pens and papers and really get a good graphic organizer, write down notes and highlight. And it's something that works well in a college setting because there's not as much volume of material. But medical school is, people use this analogy I think too loosely, but they'll say like drinking out of a fire hydrant, right? I kind of heard that when I started college, which in some ways, sure, it's true, but in medical school, it's truly like the amount of volume of material is so vast, and it's kind of like encompassing a whole college class in just 1 week. Like we covered biochem my first week of medical school in 1 week, and that was like the entire biochem that we did in college. So it's just so much material, and you'll learn so much, but there's a lot of different ways to stay on top of it. And of course, it's keep a schedule, keep a work-life balance, kind of know what you need to do to maintain physical and mental health and the things that you enjoy, but also remember that medical school will truly be a full-time job. A lot of you, when you begin medical school, your other friends and peers outside of medicine will be working, their first real-time job. So you should be expected to put in the same 8 to 10 hours every day. Medicine is sort of like climbing the corporate ladder. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and you're kind of guaranteed a very, good, fulfilling, and very honorable career path down the line. But you definitely have to earn your stripes and put in the hard work early on, just like anyone starting in any field. So I'm going to quickly just chat about something called Anki. It's a spaced repetition program. I use it every single day, and I know many of you maybe have heard of it before. It's getting a lot more popular even for the college setting, MCATs, and other graduate programs or language learning. But basically, it's a program that kind of helps you learn a vast amount of material, maintain it over time, and help it stick to your brain. So you can look up more about this on your own, and also I have a lot of different YouTube videos about Anki and how to use it for the MCAT medical school board exams, and how to kind of best use your time to study, because your time does become more sparse and more limited as you get through your medical education. But finding more ways to be efficient is kind of the best way to maintain that work-life balance, in my opinion. So something like Anki is really helpful because it tells you what you need to study every day and how to maintain that information without losing it. So, that's something that I would recommend to all of you, or for you to look into if you have not looked into it before. So overall, be open, explore different options. There's many healthcare opportunities, whether medicine is for sure for you or not. There are so many different ways to be involved in a healthcare setting. There are pros and cons, costs and benefits to career in medicine. So these are all things that you should consider. Talk to trusted and close advisors, mentors, and peers that you have, and figure out what's the best path for you. And don't be afraid to reach out with any questions or anything that comes to mind. Like with anything, the sooner you find out, the better. It's good to be proactive and to start early. So I really recommend students meet with a mentor, a pre-med advisor, sort of get your schedule lined up, figure out what you want to major in, what classes you need to take, and sort of map out all the remaining years you have. If you want to take a gap year, decide, do you want an MPH? Do you want to go travel? What do you want to do that's going to be very edifying for you, your personal life, and also your future career. So consider all these things before you step into medicine, because once you start your first year of medical school, you're on that grind for 4 years. So there's not too many breaks that are involved. So when you have the time to allot to medicine, make sure you kind of tie on any loose ends you might have in your life and the things you want to do before you start. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about starting early and exploring options. This is a picture of me. I did a volunteer experience in Brazil in one of the summers in college, and then got to do some hang gliding too, which was really fun. So part of traveling that I really like to do. So finally, I just want to wish all of you the best of luck and thank, MedStem Powered again for inviting me here to speak for a second year. It's truly something I love to do, and to connect with students across the world and to share a little bit about my story, and to let all of you just ask questions and to just be connected to me, whether it's through Zoom or, through one of these avenues. Yeah, I encourage all of you to, connect with me in my Facebook group that has over 1,000 members, where you can kind of post questions and talk to other pre-meds across the world. My YouTube channel, it's over 2,200 subscribers. I just started it over a year ago, but it's just a way for me to share helpful advice and things that I'm going through, so that, things I wish I knew, so that when you're there, then you can see and get that kind of help. And also, I'm running an Instagram page, kind of just started, but you can feel free to find me on that too. So that's all I have. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer. I'm sorry, was not able to look at the chat too much because I was talking. So thanks, everyone.
Yeah, if any of you have questions for Austin, feel free to just type them in the chat, or if you would prefer to ask him in a more one-on-one format, you can reach out to him in any of the platforms he linked, and we'll also be linking his Facebook group, YouTube, and Instagram in our follow-up message. So actually, I think someone has their hand up, Austin, if you would want to call on them.
Sure.
Uh,
Yes. Yeah. Hi,
Hi.
Austin. Sorry. Yep. What's up?
Right. So my question is, ECA isn't up to the mark. How do we
You're
prove to
you're cutting you're
university?
cutting out. You're cutting out a little bit. Sorry, I couldn't hear the first part. Can you try one more time?
Yeah, sure. Am I better now? Is it better?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's better.
All right. So I wanted to ask, if the test scores or the ECA isn't up to the mark, how do we prove to med schools that we're still worthy of the experience? And how do you come back out of that?
Yeah, so I think when, certain scores are lower than average, it's good to apply broadly, right? And, have cast a wide net. That's the first way to kind of get your attention out to many schools. But in addition to that, I think the way you write your essays and the way you portray yourself can sort of show how that, maybe a lower than average score is not really reflective of the type of student that you are and your work ethic, and how you will perform as a medical student. There's actually pretty loose data that shows that there's not that much correlation between, entrance exams and how clinicians will perform. So I think just continue to have that maturity and having that desire to pursue medicine, and sort of that perseverance that, you're not going to give up despite, a certain score. It's only one metric. And yeah, just being yourself, apply broadly. And I think that gives you the best chances. And they might ask you about it, and just kind of have a response ready for why, a certain test score might not be as high as they might want it. And I think that will put you up at a good spot. And Jada?
So I was wondering if you had any other study tips, because that's something I really need to work on. Like, I'm very bad at studying and stuff. So I was wondering if you had do you use teaching other people to help you memorize stuff, or was it mostly just your spaced repetition and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the space repetition was really something that helped me out closer to when I started medical school. But in high school and in college, I think the best way was to have a plan and to stay very organized, but also to do something called like Pomodoro intervals. And I'm sure maybe some of you have heard of it, but I think, there's actually a research study that shows that when someone sits down for like 8 to 12 hours, their level of deep focus is only about like 4 to 6 hours. So there's a lot of wasted time. And so I think that it doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to study for 8 hours. So it's going to be 8 hours of torture where I don't give myself any reward and I'm just working extremely hard for, 8 hours. And sometimes it could be
Yes, ma'am.
inefficient, right? It could be inefficient, right? So in a Pomodoro interval, you would work hard for, let's say, 30 minutes and take a 5-minute break, or work hard for 45 minutes and take a 15-minute break. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. It depends on you. So I know for me, a lot of people, like I really like How I Met Your Mother and Friends, and those are like 20-ish minute episodes. So, I would kind of reward myself with an episode after working hard for 45 minutes or an hour, depending on what I needed to do. And then it allows you to relax, decompress your mind. And then when you're done with something, it motivates you to get the next tasks done. So I kind of like to break up the things I have to do into sections. And then of course, taking the breaks you need for, working out. If you like to do that, I like to go on runs and go to the gym. So doing things like that, or watching a show, or getting lunch with a friend, kind of breaking up that study time, but just make sure that when you are studying, your phone is away, you're focused, you have that cup of coffee or tea, whatever you like to drink when you study, and that you get the most efficiency out of those times. I think that's really helpful. I see some questions in the chat. How do you reach out and find mentors as a high school student? I think this is a great question. It could be difficult, especially in high school, but I think that because like in high school, there's not as many, advisors that can really walk you through, a pre-med pathway, just because I feel like the resources aren't always there. When you get to college, there's a lot more resources in terms of pre-med advisors and things like that. But in high school, I'd recommend reaching out to like your local hospital, or where you can get shadowing opportunities. And if you're gonna, shadow or work in a clinical setting, there's always a lot of opportunities to find mentorship in the physicians there, or if there are residents there or other medical students. I think that's a good way to kind of find that mentorship and guidance from someone that's already been along the path. And then Angelica, do you have any advice to students who want to shadow professional volunteer but cannot really go outside due to COVID restrictions? Yeah, that's really, a good question, and it's getting more difficult, especially because of COVID. But I think that things are getting better given there are, vaccines that are coming out, and, things are kind of starting to look better. I know that that's not something that's always readily available. So I would recommend looking into like telehealth opportunities. Perhaps there are some physicians that let you kind of shadow in on Zoom when they do telehealth visits. That's something I've seen being done. In terms of volunteering, it is a little bit hard, but I've also had some friends in pre-med sort of work remotely on back end logistics and kind of helping the hospital with like different types of charting and staying organized in ways that they can do remote. It might not be as easy to find these opportunities, but hopefully if you reach out, then you can hopefully get involved with something. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a better answer for that, but hopefully things start to get better in the next couple of years. And then one more question from Julia. Do you suggest we take board exams just right after graduating, or do it while in med school? Do I get a higher chance of getting into med school if I did a 1-year research just after graduating? Great questions. So for the first one, for board exams, I would recommend doing them while in medical school. Things will be very fresh for you as you learn the material for the first time. And then you can sort of check off one step of the board exams as you before moving on to the next steps. I think it could be overwhelming to have to take all of them afterward. And when you learn your material for your school and you take your exams, it can be difficult to relearn everything because every year of medical school kind of comes with its own stressors, and your brain power is sort of, divided and focused on something else. So for example, when you start your rotations in the hospital, you're really focused on how to be a good clinician for the patients you're caring for. You're treating like 2 to 3 patients. It's much less than the actual doctors, but you're still very involved in their care. You want to like do well in terms of charting, learning electronic medical records, how to best, help out in the hospital setting. So you're really focused on that. makes it hard to, keep all of the steps of glycolysis and all of these complex mechanisms in your head. But if you kind of wait until the end, you have to sort of keep all those things fresh, or else you have to relearn everything, which can take a lot of time. So I sort of recommend doing those things throughout the day or throughout your training, and then try to get it done before you graduate. And then finally, do I get a higher chance of getting into med school if I did 1 year research? Absolutely. I think you do have a higher chance, but only if the thing that you're lacking in your application was research. So I think sometimes students who already have research but tend to have lower scores or less diverse experiences, they take a research year. It's like you're taking a year off to do something that you kind of already have, so that might not help you. But if, for example, you have stellar, scores and experiences, but you have minimal research, then doing a research year will really help you because you're adding to something that's already a weakness in your application. So don't just do something because you feel like, you need it to get into medical school. There's a lot of people who don't take years off and get into medical school. So if you have a well-rounded application and sort of touch upon those 3 totems that I mentioned before, I think you give yourself a good shot. And finally, the last question we have for today, Carla, have you always been interested in medicine? If yes, how did you show this in your undergraduate application? So that's a really, really great question. And it's different for everyone, like I mentioned. So for me personally, I think that I've always had medicine on my mind. I have a couple uncles that are physicians, and I had an experience early on in the hospital when, my mom, I have a little sister, and my mom, when she gave birth, she almost passed away, but she thankfully was okay. She had something called disseminated intravascular coagulation, pretty much disorder that impairs your ability to blood clot. So she was continuing to bleed postpartum, and she was losing a lot of blood. So it was really scary, and I think that I was really comforted by the medical staff that was with me, and they really supported my family, and I got to sort of see that holistic side of medicine. But I also didn't know for sure if I wanted to be a doctor until I did different experiences in college, sort of worked in the hospital. I shadowed, did research, and kind of did all the things that I told you guys earlier. So I think it's always good to have, maybe a story or something that, kind of brought you into medicine. But I would recommend that you guys don't just say, for example, like, I want to be a doctor as soon as, I broke my arm when I was a kid and, a doctor fixed my arm, like it's important that you kind of paint a picture for the admissions committees and kind of show them in your undergraduate application the steps that you took that led you to your conviction to want to practice medicine. So I framed it as if, the idea of pursuing medicine really started, in that hospital when the physician really cared for my family and took care of my mom. But it's through all the experience you have in college and the ways you immerse yourself in the hospital, in research, that kind of reaffirms that conviction and kind of shows you that, this is really, what you want to do someday. So the idea can start from something as young, and when you're young or something, but I just want to say that, like, when you're 10 years old, it's kind of hard to just be like, oh, I know I want to be a doctor, because they're like, you don't really know anything. You haven't seen anything yet. So it's good that you build upon the story and then kind of show them how you matured and why you want to be a physician at the end of the day. So I hope that's helpful to you, Carla. And that was the last question. So thank you all for letting me speak today.
Awesome. Yes, thank you so much. So for everyone in our audience, we've linked his Instagram as well as the thank you form and his YouTube channel. So if you would all be kind enough to fill that out. And Austin, as soon as everyone fills out our thank you form, we'll send you the responses there. And then if students have questions, might reach out to you and say, oh, I'm from the summer program, just as a brief introduction. So thank you once again for taking the time to come and speak to us. I know it must be pretty early where you live. These are our international kids, so it's all different times during the day for them. So not sure whether to say good afternoon or good evening or good morning. Mm-hmm. But thank you once again for taking the time to come and speak to us, and the best of luck with finishing medical school.
Yeah, thank you so much. And hope everyone enjoyed it. I'm always happy to do it. So wishing all of you best rest of your day.
Awesome. Sounds wonderful. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds great. So with that, like we said, we'll be linking all of his social media in the chat and his YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and follow him there. And now we will be transitioning into our workshop on, what's next here at Medicine Empowered, since this is our final concluding session today. So I will start sharing my screen and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, perfect. And if at any point you have any questions or something that you would like to have clarified, just feel free to put it in the chat, and or you can raise your hand. I should be able to see all of that from where I'm sharing my screen, but if not, just send me a quick message and I will get to you as soon as possible. So for right now, we are going to kind of talk about what's next here, because this is our final session today. So we don't want to leave you all, today without knowing what's actually going to be happening next year after the summer program, because of course it doesn't end here. All right, so as you all know, our final homework has been posted. We've sent it out in our emails to you as well as on Slack, and I also sent it at the beginning of the session today, so it's all there. Your post-session 1, 2, and 3 homework from week 1, and then for week 2, instead of doing the individual session homework, we just did one week 2 homework, and then the post-program feedback form. We've already been going through the responses for all of you that have submitted the form as of, I believe, an hour ago. So we really do appreciate any and all feedback that you give us, and it is mandatory too. For our post-program feedback form, you're all receiving a volunteer hour for filling that out, because through filling that out, you're helping us make our summer programs and just the future here at MedStem Powered better for other kids that come through and participate in anything that we have here. So you will be receiving a volunteer hour for that. And for every guest speaker that you fill out a thank you form for, you will also be receiving 30 minutes of volunteer hours. And you have to self-report them, but if you need us to sign off on them, we'll be able to see that you filled out the form, and then we'll be able to sign off on them. So you can email it over to us and we can sign off with them. But more to come on this later. And like I said earlier, your research symposium submissions are now due on Thursday at 12 o'clock p.m. EDT. That's a 24-hour extension. And I would like to clarify that the research symposium is not mandatory for your certificate of completion, but it is a wonderful opportunity to get some hands-on research during the summer, as well as, collaborating with other kids and becoming eligible for some awards. All right, so we've already gone through our guest speaker shadowing, then we'll be going through, this PowerPoint, and then we'll be kind of wrapping things up with either a workshop or two if we have the time, or if not, we'll be uploading those workshops. Okay, so first I wanted to introduce everyone to our teams here, because the people that you've been seeing for our summer program, myself, Ahmad, Maher, a few of our coordinators, some of our outreach directors, some summer program planning committee members, they are a few of the people who have been involved here so far, and we've been doing a lot more outside of our summer program, which is kind of why we wanted to elaborate on that and show you what we've really been up to. So first off, a happy belated birthday to MedStem Powered, because our founding date was July 7th of 2020, which was this year, July 7th of 2021. That was right in the middle of the summer program. So we kind of held off on celebrating our unofficial birthday this year, but that's when we were founded. So we'll kind of be going through everything that we were able to accomplish in a year. So this is a really big list, so I'm not going to go through everything one by one. And of course, you have access to this slideshow in our session resources folder. But this is everything that we've been able to do in the past year. So you can read through some of this. If you have a question about how you can get involved in something that we have up here, feel free to send us a message. And we'll be covering that a little bit later too. But this is everything that we've been able to do in roughly a year. So first, I'd like to introduce everyone to our leadership team. So you've met some of us through the summer program, notably myself, Ahmad, Maher, Rebecca, Chatney, Miriam, Alex. I'm just looking at the faces here. Jada. There are probably a couple more that I haven't mentioned. Oh, Jalen and Alex. So you've met some of us, and our leadership team is responsible for coordinating these events, managing members, a whole slew of things, and everyone here is a co-director of a department. So we do currently offer about 7 or 8 departments. So a department is run by 2 of the co-directors or leadership team members that you saw in the last picture. And they are responsible for working with a team of students to facilitate activities in research, content, our mentorship program, marketing and outreach, events and fundraising, social media, graphic design, website, communications writing, and more to come in following year. So this is just some of the stuff we were able to accomplish this year in all of our departments. So research, we had outreach to professors, webinars, we had a mini STEM college apps series where we were able to bring in some PhD researchers. We had some students creating research posters collaboratively, lesson plans, and in the future, we hope to outreach to middle school and high school curriculum. And in our content department, we created lesson plans, workshops, interactives, anatomy and physiology, creating lesson plans in bio, chem, stats, everything. And we'll be expanding on that in the future as well. For our mentorship program, we currently serve about 100 mentors and mentees globally, and our program has closed for the summer, but the applications will be up and going for this upcoming school year. So you'll be hearing about that soon. For marketing and outreach, all of the guest speakers and who you've been able to hear from this summer are thanks to our marketing outreach team members for reaching out to international schools. I'm sure that some of you are actually here in our international program because your school received an email from us extending the offer of the program, to everyone at your school. So that's all thanks to our students that work in those departments, and then events and fundraising, managing the giveaway, which I hope you've all entered on Instagram, our fundraisers, donations that we do in the future, as well as scheduling our events like this. And we also have social media and graphic design. So all the beautiful posts you see on Instagram, our link tree, our YouTube channel, it's all managed by them. And we'll be adding more departments in the future because we know that a lot of you that have been participating in our summer program are interested in getting involved here. So that is something we're going to be discussing in the future. And I'll take a little break now to answer some questions in the chat. So is the awards for the whole team or for specific members? So I'm assuming that this is for the research symposium and actually for our general summer program participants. So for those of you that, regardless of whether or not you did the research symposium or not, we're going to be giving out some participation awards separate from the research symposium. So just for some kids that have really gone above and beyond for our summer program this year. So it really could be anyone here that is in our Zoom meeting right now. But for the research symposium, if you do get an overall award like Best Biomedical Solution, Best Engineering Solution, that's going to be for your whole team. And if you get a speaking award as a group, that'll also be for your whole team. But if you present it by yourself, then you might get a Best Speaker award for you. But generally, we will try to keep things to a team by team basis. And yes, someone else asks, can we get involved? Great question to ask. We will be covering that very soon. So these are just some of the ways that you can get involved and some of the things that you can do. So these are some Zoom screen caps because we aren't able to meet in person of what we've been up to. So we've had research department onboarding meetings where students learn about how to get involved with research in high school. And the bottom picture is our social media and graphic design onboarding meetings. So once you join a team, you'll get to meet your directors and learn about what you'll be doing in the department. This is one of our most notable events that we held in November of 2020 with Gitanjali Rao. She was the Times Kids Choice of the Year. And this is just a small example of the event that we hosted last year and some events that we hope to host in the future. So she's a wonderful speaker, she's a wonderful researcher, and just really a wonderful human being. And we'll be providing more opportunities like this in the years to come. All right, so here are some projects that we will be working on in the upcoming school year. And again, this is only a few of them that we have that we are able to release today because some of them are still in the works of being planned out. But a middle and high school program for both mentorship as well as curriculum and webinars, medical training programs, research posters, resource packs, which Meher will be uploading shortly, outreach to international schools, fundraisers, content creation, course creation, partnerships, expanding our mentorship program, and just creating more space for students who want to learn about STEM and medicine. I do understand that this does seem pretty vague right now because we haven't really detailed any specifics, but that's just because we are waiting until the conclusion of the summer program. We want you all to, make sure you get your certificates and finish your research symposium, etc., and worry about that first. And then once that's all over and we have everything ironed out and we know that everyone has gotten their certificates, then we'll be sharing more details about, forms that you can submit to get involved or teams that you can be joining or projects that you'd like to see started that we can maybe help you out with here. And here's our mentorship program. So like I mentioned earlier, in 2020, we served about 100 mentors and mentees globally. And here are some of the topics that students were mentored in. So we have computer science, anatomy and physiology, physics, calc, pre-calc, pre-med, algebra 2, bio, chem, college applications, stats, and of course more to come in the upcoming school year. So right now our program does run for the school year. We haven't implemented a summer mentorship program yet, but these are just some of the topics that you can immerse yourself with. And you don't have to be taking these classes in high school in order to be eligible to, get mentored in them. If you are mentoring someone else, you should have taken these classes in high school or your undergrad. So when you're teaching kids, you know what you're talking about. But if you would like to get mentored in these subjects and you're not the one, being taught, you don't have to take these classes in high school in order to, be eligible. If you just like to learn about physics or calc or anatomy or pre-med, which of course is not really a class that they offer in high school, you can join a mentorship channel or join a mentorship group anyways. And I'll stop and see if we have any questions. Will we be judged in different categories? For example, will there be separate awards for those who opted to submit a video versus those who submitted a document? No, not really. As long as we receive your submission in some shape or form, you will all be considered for either the award that you fill out on the form, or if you just say, we're interested in any award, it doesn't really matter which one, then we'll consider you automatically for all of them. Yeah, so that is what I have so far. And someone else asks that if they run an organization themselves, will they be able to partner with us in the future? Of course, we're always accepting partnerships, and our partnership with Med School Coach is why we were able to provide a bunch of free resources to you all this summer, as well as our session 4.5 webinar. So that was all thanks to them. And someone else asks, how can we apply for the mentorship program? So that's going to be another form that we release again at the conclusion of the summer program. We just want to make sure that everything gets ironed out first, and then once that's done, we'll have clear next steps for all of you that want to get involved. We just don't want it to be too overwhelming because there are a lot of messages being sent. And yeah, so this is basically everything I've been saying. So if you want to get involved, you're really in luck, because after we release our program certificates, we'll be sending out more messages, emails, etc., on how you can get involved here, join a team, join our leadership, etc. All right, so now about your program certificates. So we've already released a checklist of everything that you need to have done in order to become eligible for your program certificates. So please be sure that you filled out the post-session 1, 2, and 3 homework assignment, the week 2 homework, and then the post-program feedback form, which you will also receive a volunteer hour for. And once those are done, once those checklist activities are done, we'll be able to determine your eligibility for it. So this is just a sample of our certificate from last year's program, and this is just a sample name. It's not the name of someone that actually participated, but our certificates, of course, will be different this year because our organization name is not the Future MDs in STEM. Like, that's not our organization name anymore. It's MedSTEM Powered. So their certificate will look different, and it will also have your shadowing hours, which we didn't do last year. It'll have our IRS number for any colleges that have any questions about our 501c3 nonprofit status, and also our email for contact purposes. And I believe that will be it. If you are participating in the research symposium, you'll be receiving a separate award certificate that will, certify that you participated in the research symposium. So that won't be included on this one. So this certificate, again, will just have your shadowing hours, certificate of completion with excellence, and then our signatures at the bottom. And it will look different than the one that we have above. That was just our sample from last year. All right, so I know that some of you were interested in adding this experience to LinkedIn. And while, of course, this program was set in its 2 weeks for you to learn during these 2 weeks, it's a wonderful idea to kind of take this experience and build on it for anything that you want to get involved with in the future. Really use this program to your advantage to network and connect with people. So first off, what is LinkedIn? It's really just a platform for networking. So it allows you to connect with your friends in a work platform. So, not something such as Instagram or Discord. You can share your work experiences. You can let people know that, you're a student, that you're open to working. You can follow organizations, etc. And we've also linked a website where you can click on that and create an account for yourself. So if you look at this screen cap in the bottom, this is just a sample account, but you can see that, you can add a picture, your name, and then in this section, that's usually where people say student at XYZ high school or college, or, president of this organization. Or for you all, you could add, if you don't have anything there yet, you could add participant of the Future MDs in STEM summer program, or, general member at MedSTEM Powered. You can add that there. It's just a brief overview of, some of your most notable events or activities that you've participated with. And this is kind of what your LinkedIn will personally look like. So you'll have your name here, a picture, and then, this might say, student at this high school, member here, president here, certified at this company, or whatever. It really is going to be unique to each person. You'll be able to see how many people have viewed your profile. You can see all the companies that you're following. So if you follow us on LinkedIn, our company will show up here. You can also join some groups. There are events that you can attend. And this might seem a little bit overwhelming now for those of you that do not have LinkedIn, but don't worry, you can look at these slides later and kind of create an account at your own pace and send us a message if something's ever confusing. So this is just what LinkedIn looks like for you. If you ever, have someone that wants to connect with you, maybe a friend from the summer program, a friend from your school, they'll show up here and you can, add them to your network. So if they ever post on LinkedIn, or, if they want to reach out to you, then it'll show up on your feed right here. You can also send people direct messages. It's kind of like a business Instagram where the posts aren't for you to I don't know, post about prom or your high school graduation, but it's to, showcase what you're doing in your work life. So now we're going to be giving you a step-by-step tutorial on adding this summer program experience to your personal LinkedIn, because for a lot of you, this will be either your first or one of your first real medical summer program experiences. So we want to make sure that you really maximize this opportunity to, show people on LinkedIn that you have participated in a program and that's what you spent your summer doing. So once you click on your personal profile, you can scroll down to an experience section. So once you click on your profile, it'll have your profile picture at the top. It'll have, a little description. It'll say about you. So you can say, I am a second year student at this high school. So I'm a sophomore and I'm interested in pre-med. I do these clubs. You can keep scrolling down, and then there's an experience section. So once you get to that experience section, you can hit this plus button here, and then it'll bring you to this page, which we've already auto-filled for you. So once you add this experience in, and if you would prefer to add your profile in a different language, you can click here. So we do offer it in English and Spanish, and of course there are other languages as well. So you can add it as, an international future MDs in STEM 2021 participant. The employment type is an internship. The company is MedSTEM Powered, and we're based in Greater Boston, Massachusetts. And the start date was in June 2021, which is when we first onboarded you, and we ended in July 2021. And for the description there, which again is another part of the experience kind of button that you click on, you can just copy and paste this if you would prefer. Of course, you're more than welcome to, add in your own description if you did something different during the program, or if, you feel that you can better describe it, which of course you totally can. We just wanted to provide you with an example of something that you can copy and paste, so that when people, see your business profile or see that you've attended the summer program and they're like, oh, what did they do during the program? They can just read over this blurb and know that, okay, they were selected, they were a participant, they were able to communicate with doctors and MD candidates, and they did some hands-on workshops, so they know how the medical field kind of works now. And they were also a part of a program with about 300 students, etc. And of course, you can change any of this wording. Really, it's just here for your benefit. And in this upload part, you can upload a PDF of your program certificate, a participation award, any research symposium awards you get, or etc. You can also add this in your licenses and certifications. So since it's a program certificate, you can click this button, add it there. And if you provided us with feedback or filled out our thank you forms, you can add that to your volunteer experience as well and add the role as student feedback. Just make sure that you type in the organization as MedStem powered and make sure our logo comes up so that people know that you are associated with our organization, at least for the summer period. You can also take a skill quiz. So if you'd like to add a skill of, STEM or medicine or collaboration or leadership, you can add those there. These are some of the sample ones that you're eligible to add to your profile because you've completed the program. You can also add an honor and award because you've got a program certificate, or if you get any research symposium awards, you can add the organization here as MedStem powered. And once you create your personal LinkedIn, or if you already have one, this will make a lot more sense. You might be like, I have no idea where any of these sections are, or I have no idea how to work LinkedIn. So if that's something you're interested in, we can upload a video on kind of how to get started with LinkedIn too. But this is just a few of the ways that you can really add this to your business profile. And I'll see if I have any questions, but I don't see any right now. All right, so on the left is actually a sample post that someone from our 2020 program shared on LinkedIn. So posting on LinkedIn is a great way to expand your network and collaborate with other students, other MD candidates, other medical professionals. So on the left, someone created a post, and what you do to create a post is you just go to your homepage. It'll say start a post here. You click on it, then you can start typing. This is just a sample post I created. It's just not anything I actually shared on LinkedIn, but what I did for the sake of our presentation today. So the text here says, how to blast during the Future MDs in STEM 2021 summer program. Huge shout out to, and then if you type the @ symbol and then you start typing in MedStem powered, you can tag us as well so we can repost you on LinkedIn. That's another way for us to, maybe add some people to your network. So if we repost you, our followers will see your post, and then maybe some students that did the program with you will be able to connect. So, you can tag us on LinkedIn too. And then the text just says, check out my program certificate below. You don't have to add these hashtags. It's just a way for your post to gain more traction on LinkedIn. So again, going back to the actual post from last year on the left, someone said, just wanted to thank the creators of the program to help students learn about medicine from the comfort of their home. With medical experiences being so limited, it was super beneficial. I learned so much. Then they added their program certificate here. I personally reposted them last year because we didn't have a company LinkedIn quite yet that we knew how to use fully. And that's kind of how it works. So anyone that's connected with you on LinkedIn in that business format would be able to kind of see how you spent your summer and what you're able to do. And someone else asks, will the paragraph for us to enter in the experience section be sent to us? Yes, of course. So we'll make it easy as copy and pasting. And another really beneficial thing about LinkedIn is that we can write a recommendation for you, or you can write a recommendation for one of us here. So if you scroll down to your recommendations section and you just click on this ask for recommendation, you'd have to go to our profile. So for this summer program, I'll be writing the recommendations for everyone, or you can write a recommendation for me. But again, that's just something you can do, that's optional. But if you would like me to write a recommendation for you, and really the only criteria is that you've done the summer program, and I'll know that that's who I'm writing the recommendation for. So if you go to my LinkedIn profile, it does require a little bit of LinkedIn stalking, but that's okay because we encourage that this summer. So if you go to my personal profile and you scroll down to recommendations, you can click on this ask for a recommendation button, and it will bring you to another screen that says, do you want to send a note, in case the person you're asking, just wants to make sure that you are who you say you are, and, just add a little bit about you. Then you can just say, hey, my name is XYZ. I did the International Future MDs in STEM summer program. Would love it if you had the time to, write me a recommendation. I'll see that on my personal LinkedIn, and then I'll be able to write you a recommendation, and then you can add that to your profile as well. And if you would like to recommend us, you can hit the pencil button there and write a recommendation for us. But again, that's really just an optional thing. Can you also request scale endorsements from me? Yes, you can. And if you would like to request those endorsements, you just have to include that in your recommendation message. All right, so adding this experience to your college apps when you're applying to jobs, a resume. For college apps, you can add it under extracurriculars. If you receive any awards, you can add this under the awards category. You can upload the certificate to your Common or Coalition app. You under your resume, you can do the same thing, pretty much add it as an experience, an internship, program, certificate, and showing organizations or companies or just jobs in general that you have taken the initiative to do a program like this over the summer really increases your chances of receiving an in-person shadowing interview or an in-person interview or advancing to the next stage. So really just be sure to maximize this experience so that you can use it for your future purposes. All right, so now if you need us to write you a letter of recommendation, so not something on LinkedIn or that kind of business platform, you can email us at info@medstempower.org. Of course, please include why you need a letter of recommendation, or if you need us to write a volunteer letter for you certifying that you volunteered with us, that you did the summer program, or if you're applying to a job, we would be more than happy to write you those letters. If you do reach out to us, please give us at least 2 to 3 weeks notice because we will be a little bit busy at the end of this program period. And we want to make sure that we write you a letter to the best of our ability that really reflects, you as a person and you as a participant of our program. So if you need a letter of recommendation for anything, email us at info@medstempower.org, which is the email that we've been using for a lot of our communication purposes this summer. And we will be more than happy to help you out. We've already written some letters of recommendation for students and they've gone on to complete internships. So we really do hope that you'll maximize this opportunity because we'd love to, help you get your foot in the door. And finally, from us to you, we sincerely want to say thank you. So here are some cute pictures of all of us during Zoom and our picture today. And what we really want to tell you all is that this summer program would absolutely not have been possible without all of you. I know that as international participants, it's probably a lot harder than it is for us in the US and Canada to, attend a pre-med summer program because opportunities might be more hard to find. And I'm not sure if there are tons of programs that cater to international kids, but the fact that all of you are here, spending your summer here, staying up super late or waking up super early to, come talk to us, engage with our medical professionals, grab a pillow, do a CPR workshop, get your hands deep in some research, especially virtually, just shows that we know that the medical and STEM fields in the future are in good hands because you all will be going into them. So we really, really do hope that you've learned a lot this summer, met a friend, and that you felt really empowered and ready, to tackle the world of medicine and STEM. We are incredibly proud of you all. I know that we mentioned this earlier, but some of you have reached out to us and said like, hey, I'm doing this program on my lunch break because I'm still in school. And I know that some of you have done this program like while you're in the airport waiting for a flight. So we are continually impressed by all of you for just coming here to do the program. And of course, like I said before, this program really, really would not have been possible without all of you being here and without all of you being here to learn, especially during the summer. So we are so, so proud of you, and we cannot wait to see how you will change the medicine and STEM worlds in the future. So with that, I think that's all we have time for today. But like I said, we do really want to say thank you because this program would absolutely not have been possible without you. And we hope that it's been a beneficial experience for you. We have put a lot of work into making sure that this program was as interactive as it could have been. And we do appreciate any feedback that you have for us. But yeah, that's kind of it for our program, which feels weird to say because it feels like this program just started a few days ago and now we're already wrapping up. So we do hope that you all come back to, get involved with us here. But if this is our last time seeing you, then we really do wish you all the best. And we hope that this experience was wonderful and that you feel like you're ready to, enter the world of medicine and STEM and have a really strong foot in the door and that that you can do it because we know that you can. So we hope that you have that confidence too. So yeah, I'm seeing lots of messages in the chat, so I'll open that up now. Of course, we're so glad that this is something that we're able to offer everyone, because this was an idea that we almost didn't go through with last year. So we're super excited that it was as much of a success last year as it was this year. And of course, we'll see you at the research symposium. So I know we'll see some of you again, but if we don't see you again, then we would just like to say thank you. And we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful summer. And we hope you reach out to us to let us know how things are going. If you ever want to send us a message and be like, hey, I got into this college, or, like I got into this medical school, or I submitted my first application as an international experience, please reach out to us, because we would love to celebrate that with you, because that's an amazing, amazing accomplishment that you should be proud of. So if you want to, just keep in touch with us and let us know how things are going in your life, we would be more than happy to stay in touch with you all. And of course, we'll be sending out all the homework that you need and everything that you'll need in terms of like guest speakers, and we'll be uploading more slides and stuff too. But if you do have to leave now, you are more than welcome to head on out. But if you'd like to stay back, ask us a question or two, or just chat, you're more than welcome to do that too. Like we said before, thank you again for a wonderful, wonderful summer. And if we don't see you again, we hope you have a great school year. All right, bye everyone.